Hey guys, resawing. Yeah, it's tough, I know, and we do a lot of it. But I told you about the KREG stuff before. These guys just keep on coming up with some of the neatest little inventions you've ever seen. So KREG designed a resaw fence or bandsaw. Whoever designed it understood something about resawing. The first thing is you've got an extra long track that mounts into the saw. Very easy to operate. Now this is one of the accessories. It's a micro adjuster. Right here. And it's just what it implies. It allows you to lock this down, minutely move the fence. Now, this has nothing to do with the resaw fence. I just want to show it to you. If you want a flip stop on it, you can do that. Seems like all their accessories, one works with the other. And why would you want to do that? Well, you know, if you're trying to run in and just make a stop cut, neat thing to have. But I want to show you the fence. Now I'm going to show you something, and you're not going to like it until you understand it. See this? I know what you're thinking. Now to disengage this puppy, there you go. Get out of your way, overdone. I know what you're thinking. I don't want to got that much slop in it. Well, they got slop in it because they understand something about resawing. And I'm going to show it to you. You know, one of the biggest problems with a bandsaw has been, always will be, I don't care how well you tune a bandsaw. You can move your fence wherever you want. I don't care how well you tune up a bandsaw, it just doesn't matter. Bandsaws have drift. What am I talking about? The way a bandsaw cuts, for you to cut a straight line, you're either going to cut on a little bit of an angle this way, a little bit of an angle that way. It's inevitable. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're resawing is make sure that your blade is 90 degrees to your table. You also want to make sure your fence is 90 degrees to your table. Now, one other thing on the KREG fence is you've got this magnifier right here that really helps you to be able to zero in on your thicknesses and whatever it is you're trying to do. But I'm going to show you this. This is just a piece of scrap, about 24 inches long. And I've got a line drawn down the center. You see the angle this is setting on? What you want to do is lock this down. Don't let this move. Bring your fence over. And I know this is going to sound dumber than a rock. Adjust the fence to that angle. Just as close as you can humanly get it. Then lock it down. The reason for that is that's what's going to cause you to cut straight when you resaw. That's why they've got that much movement in that fence. Let's try it. Now you see how well it tracked that line? Now, if you use a miter gauge on here, you want to set your miter gauge square to this fence, because that's the way this saw is going to be cutting. Now sometimes you have to tweak them a little bit, and honestly I've seen it sometimes where the miter gauge you can set it square to the blade and it worked. Depends upon width and whatever it is you're trying to cross cut. But when you're resawing, you do that. That's how to set a fence correctly for resawing. But you know, that doesn't always get it either. And the reason for that is that you can get a piece of wood that And you know, typically if you're resawing, a lot of times, you know, I'm resawing a nice thick piece or even a 4/4 piece, and I want to get 2 or 3 pieces out of it because I'm going to use it's really high figured, and I want to use it for a book match drawer front or whatever it is. And when you find a lot of really super figured woods, they're not always straight. They're not always flat. So when you encounter that, well, you got to do something different. Because this works beautifully if you're just simply trying to take a straight piece of wood and go down through here and resaw it. Now I'm not setting this up super tight or nothing, I'm just setting it up to where I'm comfortable here or close just to show you. Alright, I've got a little bit of a wane in this, and you see what it's doing. That's what I'm showing you. It's going to track off. How do you take care of that? Well, you need something that you're in control of. Now, KREG came up with a guide. Now, they've got it in a 4.5 and a 7. Now, what does this do? Well, what this does is this allows me to freehand track that. And what am I talking about? I want to set this has an arc on it. You see this arc? That allows me, as my wood is moving through, to move it one way or the other to stay on track. So I can set this where where the top of the arc is pretty much in line with my blade. Then come back, set my space. Again, let me go from the other end. Set my space, because now I have one fixed point of contact. Now, here's something else I can do to help me. KREG again. Simple, nice little neoprene, plastic, whatever it is, it sure holds well. A little featherboard. Now I don't need it super tight up there because I don't want to be pinching. I don't want to create a pinch. But this is going to give me a bottom guide. That's all it's going to do. Now I'll tell you what I've done before, and that is simply take a pencil or a little piece of tape and mark it on the other side of the blade. That works too. But what this does is I don't have to worry about the bottom of it kicking out. All I have to focus on is my center line. And I go down through. If you start to track off like you see this doing, then you can simply back off a little bit on your featherboard and give you room to move. The point I'm trying to make to you is that they've got this thing covered any way you want to go. Now I really shouldn't have backed out of that, and I probably should have put a sharp blade on here to do that. And since we're here talking about resawing, that's another good point. You see where I'm having issues because I got a dull blade. A good resaw blade, you want it sharp, and you want as few teeth per inch. Okay, why is that? The reason being, normally a 3 tooth per inch or less is in you want a good gullet. This is the gullet, this is the opening, the space in here. Because there's a lot of sawdust coming when you're resawing, and you want something that's going to clear it. Now I can tell you now, the other thing you want is, a lot of guys say no, but my experience has been the widest, coarsest cut I can get is what I want. Your bimetal blades do real well, and that's where the back of it is a flex back, and then you've got a good hard tooth on it. They do very well. But the KREG resaw fence is designed to be able to compensate for the drift, and then in the cases where even that's not enough, you've got your vertical resaw guide. If you do any resawing, I really think you ought to take a look at this because you won't be disappointed.